Alright everybody, what's up and welcome to your reading for the full moon in Capricorn happening on the 3rd of July. I've realized that every time I always say it's the day after for the Southern Hemisphere, but it's really the day before. They hit the daytime before we do. So it's the 2nd for those of you in the Southern Hemisphere. For those of you who are just tuning in, my name's Kate. My healing practice is Indigo Instinct Healing. I do intuitive psychic readings, a little bit of mediumship stuff depending on the situation and the client, and a lot of starseed programs and support. And I'm currently writing 2 books on the topic of energy healing and the starseed mission on the planet right now. My purpose on this planet is to educate about starseeds and how to help other starseeds recognize themselves and to increase their own power and their own empowerment so that they can help raise the frequency of the planet so that we can steer the boat in the right direction, which we are doing and will do. It's just that we are living in a very unique time where we are going to watch the crux of change, and so it's going to feel chaotic in this process. And so if that's becoming your narrative of how chaotic things are, be really mindful of what you're consuming. Are you watching a lot of mainstream media? You know, mainstream media is really focused on the fear and the challenge and the strife in the world. And yes, it's important for us to know what's going on in general, but generally I've found over the years that if something is a big enough deal collectively or holistically in the world, we generally find out one way or another. We're so connected with information that you don't necessarily have to tune into the news, to CNN or whatever, to be able to understand what's happening. So on an energetic level, we're not really divided right now, but there are a lot of moving parts. And so some of you are going to be experiencing a lot of drag, what I call energetic drag. So you feel like you're doing all the right things, you feel like you're making all these changes, but you don't feel like you're moving forwards. And for those of you who feel like you're in that phase right now, especially, you know, there's things that'll tip you off, like if you're coming into your birthday season, or you're a Gemini or a Cancer or a Leo and you're just not really feeling very good, or you on paper can see that you're making positive changes, but you're not really feeling the effects, you're not really feeling any lighter. Keep in mind that the world is about to go through another large shift, and you're actually doing a lot of the work in advance. And so can you bring in more patience and compassion for the work that you're doing now so that you can really feel the benefits that you're creating, even though they're not really expressing themselves really greatly or widely? That can be a frustrating spot for a lot of us. So bring in some compassion and some self-love into that. Some of you might be feeling like things are moving quite fast or quite quickly. And some of you you're kind of just in the flow of it. And some of you might be feeling like things are wonderful and great. And for those of you who are feeling like things are wonderful and great, I urge you to, if you're in this space where you feel wonderful and great and you have the capacity, I urge you to dig a little bit deeper. Because we're in this space right now where those of us who are doing the work and feeling a bit sluggish and slow and preparing to bloom in a different light, those of us who are kind of cruising along that level in this really light sense, you have a greater capacity to go deeper. And so use that. If you're interested in development and growth and expansion and all these things that make us live a richer life, use that capacity to explore something that you've wanted to explore and you haven't for the past while. So take up something that interests you. Get a book from the library about something that you've been wondering about for a long time. Consider signing up for a course, or connecting with somebody that you hadn't the courage to do so with, or you just kind of fell off with. So those are kind of the different realms of the collective that we're working in right now. But I will get to the reading. As always, I would love it if you would like or share or subscribe to the channel. Put the little notification bell on so that you know when these new readings come up. I do them every 2 weeks, every new and full moon. And I'm still booking private readings. I'm about to drive across the country for the 4th time. So I will be putting my readings on pause to a certain extent there. But if you message me, leave a comment, I read all the comments, then we can set up a booking. And I'm still opening my books. There's just going to be a lot fewer slots. So just putting that out there. Okay, full moon in Capricorn. Okay, yeah, this is kind of touching on what I just said, which happens a lot when I talk before I pull a card. The Freedom card. So this is really for those of you who feel like you're just in the mud still. Like you want to feel that freedom and you want to feel good in that embodied sense, but you're just not really feeling it there. And this card is really urging us to go there in our minds. Go there in every other way that we can if we're not feeling it in the embodied sense. So start writing about it. Start drawing about it. Start dreaming about it in the shower or the bath. Start speaking it out loud when you drive in your car or before you go to sleep at night or before you get up at the beginning of the day. Can you create this reality so vividly in your mind that you can taste that freedom and you can feel like you're moving forward on that horse without having it to be manifest in the physical right this second? Because it is so, so close for so many of you and for so many of us. And so the more that we keep that dream alive and we hold true to what we're working towards, the easier it's going to be for it to come towards us. And I'm sure the reaction from a lot of you is going to be like, oh my gosh, like I'm doing it already. Like I'm exhausted. I'm doing it already. When is this going to show up? When is this going to be manifest for me? And really, it's a matter of perseverance. It's a matter of staying true over and over again. This is the montage scene in all those films where the person is like working every day and sweating and running the stairs and doing the thing or whatever, and time passes and they go from A to B. We're in the cross section, you know, we've drawn the stick of the B, but we don't have the whole thing yet. And so keep manifesting it, keep drawing it in your imagination, and let that be so strong that no matter what comes at you, you cannot possibly be distracted from what you're going after. Because it's only then when you're actually locked into that place of, this is where I'm going, I know where I'm going, I don't have any doubt about it, you can't distract me with other opportunities, that's when things are going to start to shift. Okay, relationships. Beautiful owl card. The caption is awareness in reverse. This is the Wild and Sacred Feminine deck, by the way, by Nikki Duarte and Elizabeth Marglin. I will put the link in the description box below. Sorry, my owl went a little off screen there. So, relationships. In terms of relationships relating to each other, I'm never specifically talking about romantic unless I absolutely call attention to that. When I say relationships, I just mean anybody you are in relation with. And the thing that you are coming up against right now is a deep lack of awareness around what the topic that you're thinking of or the relationship that you have. The other person has a deep lack of awareness, and this can be greeted in many ways. You do have to decide whether your relationship with this person is more important than the desire for them to meet you at the same place. Because where they are right now, they cannot meet you at that place. They can't meet you where you are. Maybe because they don't have the same perspective or they don't have the same experiences, but just regardless of the nuances of the why, they can't meet you where you are. And so do you love them deeply enough? Or is it a worthwhile relationship enough? Are you receiving enough from that relationship to love them anyway where they are? Or, maybe they're over here. This is going to take a lot of the weight off of the relationship, and it's also going to save you a lot of energy from you constantly trying to illustrate where you're coming from, what your perspective is, trying to educate on why or how or what needs to be seen or done or whatever. And this can be really tricky for especially any of us who are in the 2S LGBTQIA, in the queer world, in the neurodivergent world, in the physically divergent world, in the dreaming world, anything that puts you off of the norm track. We feel like we're constantly educating each other or others, and we feel like we're trying to constantly push the boundaries of this world to make it fit, be more inclusive and fit more of us, which it needs to and it will over time. But when it comes to your one-on-one relationships, you need to make the decision about whether this relationship matters to you on a deep enough level that you can leave this person where they are on their own island, on their own level, and let them make that discovery for themselves, even if that means not necessarily actively creating distance, but allowing distance to take place between the two of you for the moment. It's not easy, but right now, the amount of energy that you are putting into the situation compared to the amount of energy or capacity that they have to put into the situation is incredibly unbalanced. And so do yourself a favor and recognize what it is for what it is, and cut yourself a little bit free. I like these car readings. Okay. On that note of relationships, this could be the same relationship that I just went on about. This could be a different relationship. It could be something more nuanced in terms of your relationship with yourself. You'll feel it as soon as you see the card or once I start speaking. So this beautiful, I love this watercolor card. And the word under there in reverse, I know, is forgiveness. And for many of you, this is going to be about forgiveness with yourself. Maybe taking some time to recognize how incredibly far you've come. Sit down with a piece of paper, hide away. I find that I need to tuck myself away somewhere to be able to express myself clearly, even if it's just in a notebook, to feel that safety to be able to express yourself clearly. And take note of all of the challenges that you have overcome in the past 3 to 5 years. Take note of the losses that you've had and the gains that you've had. But really, this is an inventory in struggle and an inventory in challenge. And recognize with that deep compassion how much shit you have actually cleared over the past 3 years. The pandemic, that, we could place name that with any other word that really was just a giant catalyst for a lot of us to stop and pause and deal with a lot of what was going on that was unsustainable. And some of us that coincided with really, really difficult health struggles or relationship changes or life changes or whatever. But point being that we've spent the last 3 years doing a lot of deep work. And so where can you forgive yourself for what you feel like you haven't completed yet, or the line that you haven't crossed yet, or where the level that you think you should be at and you're not, whatever that is? Can you work yourself work with yourself to cultivate that forgiveness from within, because that's really going to be the only way you're going to shift and move forwards. It's going to be the only way you're going to climb that horse of freedom and enter that space of the new. And for a smaller part of you, or a smaller group of you, this is going to be the same message, but for a particular relationship that's painful or challenging or aggravating or activating. A lot of what you're struggling with is stuff that's been said and done. And so can you work towards forgiving that other person, forgiving yourself for the ways that you behaved in that relationship, so that you can lay that to rest peacefully and move forwards? There's a word that's been coming up a lot in the realms that I've created for myself. So my own social media world, what I take in, what information I absorb. And a lot of that has been the realm of, or the words of, soft world, creating softness within, creating softness on the outside of us. And that's another detail about creating our reality in our minds, is taking in new words and new ideas and concepts and allowing them to assimilate into our current world. And so creating this softness within ourselves allows us to forgive parts of ourselves that we might not have been able to do before, because we weren't letting ourselves have that grace. We weren't giving ourselves that slack. And so I challenge you to explore that possibility of, instead of forcing something into, oh, I have to forgive myself for the things I did wrong, can you invite more softness in first and then see how the forgiveness goes from there? Okay. For a lot of you, I have my own medium that I go to. It's kind of like all therapists go to therapy. I have my own medium I've been seeing for many years. And she spoke about this concept of there being a river of consciousness, where there are people who are waking up and activating, and everybody's sort of ending up in the same river of consciousness at the same time, and everybody's able to see each other within that flow. And so when you're in tune, or if you happen to be in this river of consciousness, you're going to be meeting new people, experiencing new things, having new interactions, new moments in your life, where everything just feels a little bit different. And so the beautiful, beautiful Ocean card, for a lot of you, this is going to be a new level of access to your own psychic and spiritual abilities. You know, we've done a really good job in the past handful of years of really disconnecting spirituality from religion. You know, always, if you look to indigenous practices, those humans whose culture has been here since the beginning, there's no religion. It's just a connection with life itself. And so many of us are now entering this door where we feel like we can explore spirituality or energy or energetic boundaries or manifestation or ritual or ceremony, all these things, without being connected to religion or feeling so attached or refuting it in a particularly strong way, one way or another. And so for some of you, this is really related to the opening of your psychic abilities. So be on the watch, be mindful for new signs, new things that you're experiencing, all that kind of stuff. And for the rest of you, you know, this can always apply to both. This is really about receiving the magic of the universe. Letting the magic of the universe touch you and caress you and hold you, and reconnecting with our wombs if you're somebody who has a womb. reconnecting with that magic and really understanding that that is a deeply powerful practice and powerful ritual in and of itself. You don't even have to be spiritual. You just have to connect to a deep cycle that you already hold. Allow yourself to receive this beautiful flow in the river of consciousness that you found yourself in, and see how things look and feel different. And then make a decision of whether you want to start doing more practices or cultivating this feeling that allows you to stay in that flow, or whether you want to go back to the quote-unquote old ways. Because I feel that for many of you, this is going to feel really lovely, and you're going to start to lose that attachment and lose that connection with the people, places, habits, addictions, things that you had felt so strongly connected to before. The more that you experience this, the less you're going to be attracted to that. So that is all I have for you today. I thank you for your patience and grace as I was a bit stumbly over my words. And as always, you can find me on Instagram. I do use Indigo Instinct Healing on Instagram. I'm also kate.lightstone on Instagram. And I'm writing, if you're curious about more starseed articles, join the newsletter in the description box below, or find me on medium.com. Those are the two places that I do all of my writing. The energy healing book, I might change the title again, but for now it's still Energy Basics 101, Become an Energy Badass. I think I'm going to change the badass to something else. That's still planned to be released around the end of July or August, so hopefully things go as planned and that'll be out. It'll be available for purchase. It's going to be an incredibly affordable price. I'm just concerned about it being accessible for everybody, and I want everybody to be able to read it. And if you would like to book a private one-on-one session with me, you can email me below or contact me on Instagram. And I thank you for your presence, and I will see you next time. Blessings.